Hello students, welcome to Java programming course, Unit 2, Chapter 1, Classes and Objects in Java. For this chapter, I have two videos. In the previous video, Unit 2, Video 1, we covered the topics related to classes and objects and declaring objects, access specifiers, and like the concepts. And in this video, we are going to cover the topics to be covered from Unit 2, Classes and Objects. The remaining topics to be covered: constructor methods for class, types of Java constructors, overloaded constructor methods, nested classes, final class and methods, passing arguments by value and by reference. This keyword. And these are the topics we are going to cover in this unit. First one, constructor methods for class. And we know that constructor is a special member function of a class, and this constructor initializes an object immediately upon creation. That it means, okay, this constructor initializes an object when it creates. For a given class, we can allow to create an object instance of a class. So this constructor mainly the purpose of initializing an object of a particular class. And coming to the second, it has the same name as the class in which it resides and is syntactically similar to a method. Constructor, as I told you, constructor is a special method of a class or a special function of a class, and it has the name same as class name of that belongs. Next one, once it is defined, the constructor is automatically called immediately after the object is created. Generally, we create objects for a class outside of the class or maybe inside of main function. Then the compiler automatically calls this constructor for creating objects of a particular class. And before the new operator completes, and we know we use this new operator to allocate memory for an object of a class, and then where we use these constructors to create objects of the class. Here, this constructor doesn't have any return type, not even void. Even though it is like a method of a class, generally methods have return type, but constructor is a special method. It doesn't have any return type, not even if void. This is because the implicit return type of a class constructor is the class itself. The class itself is a return type of a constructor. So that's why it doesn't require any return type when it is called or invoked. Coming to the example of constructor method for a class. So consider here previous example, box class, and these are the instance variables or data related to box object, and this is the constructor. So this is the constructor here. So the constructor name as class name, and it is like a method, doesn't have any return type, and this is the scope of the constructor. And inside this constructor, We can initialize the data variables that are related to class, instance variable that are related to class. And here it is the possibility of initializing instance variables of a class inside of the constructor that it belongs to the same class. And as usual, we have a method of volume, and inside this volume method, we are calculating the box volume by multiplying this width value, height value, and depth value. So this volume is a method of the class which calculates the volume based on the data given as the instance variables or data of a class. And this is the box class behavior. And here, this is nothing but a constructor. This is a constructor of the class. This is a constructor of the class. Next one. So with that box class, what we can do? We can find out the box volume. So simply here, I have created one object of this box class and created memory using new operator and constructor. And by executing this statement, the memory is created for this object called mybox1. Object called mybox1. The same way here also I have created another as mybox2. Mybox2 and one double variable volume which holds the volume of the box written by these objects. By calling the member method or a member function of a box class using this object name followed by dot operator and method name, then it gets the volume of the first box. Then it gets the volume of the first box. So the same function code here written, same mybox object2 dot volume. Volume is a member method of the class box class, and it displays the and it gets the volume of second box. It gets the volume of the second box. And this is the example better to understand the constructor method for a class. I hope you can understand what is the constructor, how it can be created for a class, and how this constructor can be called for initializing or when we create this step, first step, this one, then automatically this constructor will call and these values will initialize for this variables of the class for this object box mybox1. And the same here also doing here by executing this statement, the same constructor will call for this mybox2 and same values will initialize for the another object mybox2. So finally, output of these volume calculations for volume box 1 and second box. So when this program run, it generates the following output. If you observe this constructor, when this constructor called, the first statement in this constructor is system.out.constructing box. Then only it initializing values. So here, that's why when the first statement execute like this one, when this statement executed, then first box is created. That's why first constructor called box constructor and displaying the statement. And whenever coming to the second type of instruction of this main function, so for this, the same constructor box is called again. Okay, and after calling this my box dot volume and volume equal to mybox2 dot volume, these two volumes methods called by these individual objects, myBox1, myBox2, to get the volume of the box, and it simply displays the volume of first box is like this and second box is like this. So this is something about the constructor method of a class. Coming to the note points, when you do not explicitly define a constructor for a class, when you do not explicitly define a constructor for a class, then Java creates a default constructor for the class. So in the previous example, we have created one box constructor for the box class, and if it did not done by programmer, the compiler creates a default constructor for creating objects of particular class that this belongs to. Next one. This is why the preceding line of code worked in earlier versions of box that didn't define a constructor. And now this box example program we have created constructor, but in the previous programs of the box class, to understand the concepts of this class and objects in the previous video, and we didn't create any constructor there, then the compiler, the Java compiler creates a default constructor automatically and initializes all instance variables to 0. This is important. All instance variables to 0. And here in the previous example, it initializes the instance variables of a class by 10, like this one, 10, 10, 10. Otherwise, if you didn't create this constructor, the compiler creates default constructor. That default constructor initializes these variables with 0. Understood? Next one. Types of constructors. Types of constructors. There are two types of constructors here. Default constructor and parameterized constructor. Default constructor and parameterized constructor. And here, default constructor, nothing but a constructor with no arguments, and parameterized constructor, nothing but constructor with arguments. We will see one by one. Coming to here, default constructor, consider a class bike, bike1, and this is the constructor bike1, and bike is created. This constructor creates bike. And inside this public static void main function, we have created one object of this bike1 class, and then this statement executes. Immediately this constructor will call. This constructor will call, and it creates memory for an object called b. There the bike is created like that. So this is the use of default constructor, that if you observe the definition of this default constructor, it doesn't have any arguments in the method representation. Here in this definition, there is no parameters for this constructor. If it creates by the user, then no problem. If it doesn't created by user, this type of simple constructor will create by compiler itself. Okay, so it creates one constructor like this, bike1, and curly open curly brace and close a curly brace. Like this, it creates one default constructor, and that can be loaded into the program. And see another example of this default constructor here. Class main, an integer x variable, one instance variable here, and coming to this main, here it is a constructor. Here it is a constructor. And we can give access specification for this constructor as public. And the class name is main, and constructor name is main. And here this instance variable inside this constructor initialized with 5. And coming to the main function of the class main, and I have created one object here, main my object equal to new main. It create an object of main class. This will call constructor. Here itself the constructor will call, and the instance variable x is initialized with 5. And when you are trying to display the object, this variable through that object, that it simply displays on the screen 5. Okay, understood? Second type of constructor is parameterized constructor. Take the same class box example, and we have the instance variables or member variables like this, width, height, and depth. And this is the constructor for the box. And here this constructor expecting 3 parameters. So W, H, and D. And we are initializing these values with this instance variables. Okay, this is the type of declaration of parameterized constructor with arguments. And that arguments you can use in your logic for initializing variables or any other purpose. And coming to this method, and this method calculates the volume of the box by multiplying these instance variable values with height and depth. And here the representation and usage of this parameterized constructor is, you can give values for this instance variables of a class at runtime when you are creating object of this class. When you are creating an object of this class, you can simply allow to pass something values that are initialized these instance variables of the class for calculating the volume of the box. Okay, understood? And coming to the main function. So here class box demo, inside main function, I have created one object. And if you observe this here, when you are calling constructor, and we are passing 3 values here. In the previous one, this constructor expects 3 parameters when it is created or invoked. The same way here it is the syntax to fulfill that parameterized constructor to be invoked for creating object of the box class. So here these values can be passed into those variables, instance variables of this constructor, and these instance variables or these formal values are loaded into or copied into these instance variables of the class. And this is the way. And you can give different values for different objects. And here also the same, my box, new box of 3, 6, 9. Here also the parameterized constructor will call to create object of this box class. And double volume variable which holds the written volume of the box by these 2 objects. And get the volume of the first box by like this. And here it creates, and my box object calls the volume method of the class, and it returns the volume of the box, and it holds by this volume variable, and this simply displays on the screen. And the same procedure we call for second box to get the volume of the second box. Through that second box object, we are calling constructor method of the class, box class volume, and it returns the volume of the class. As you know, see this one, this is volume method. It calculates the volume by multiplying these values, and it returns when any object called this method. So it returns, and that written value is stored in volume variable, and it displays on the screen. So simply it gives the output as volume of the first box is like this, and volume of the second box is like this. This is the case here. Understood? So this is parameterized constructor. Coming to another simple example, public class main, and I have instance variable x. Inside this one is a constructor. This one is constructor. Inside this, we are passing one parameter to this constructor, and that value is used to initialize this instance variable x. And inside main function, and we are creating object of this main class. My object is an object of main class, and when we are calling constructor here, so it is not default, it is a parameterized constructor. It expects one integer value to be passed, because here it is given one integer value for this constructor. This 5 is loaded into y, and that 5 is loaded, copied into this x variable. And simply when we are trying to display the object of that instance variable of that class x through the object, like this, my object dot x, it simply display on the screen as 5. So this is the different examples to understand parameterized constructor of a different classes. And coming to overloaded constructor methods, sometimes there is a need of initializing an object. This is very important. And we use this constructor for creating objects as well as initializing objects. That object is nothing but it contains the instance variables of a class, and initializing those variables of these objects of the class, these constructors are useful. But sometimes there is a need of initializing an object in different ways. And we already seen default constructor, how it initializes, how it creates an object of the class in the same way. And here, this can be done by using constructor overloading. So constructor overloading, and this overloading concept is already familiar with you all from C++ language in the semester 1, and there you already learned this overloading of member functions of a class, or a overloading methods or constructors are also. And here, coming to this example, same box class example, I have three constructors here. One is constructor with all dimensions specified here, and constructor with no dimensions specified. This is default constructor, and this is parameterized constructor. And this is also a parameterized constructor with one parameter value, one value, that is nothing but a cube. Cube having all sides are same. That's why only one value is required to represent or create a box called cube here. So these are the three different constructors used here, and it fulfills the concept called overloading. And you know that very well. Overloading is nothing but one method or a one constructor can act as a different constructors in the same class. So here, this box constructor having same type of constructor name multiple times, and the prototype and the definition is different for individual constructors inside this class. And we are not repeating the overall what is overloading concept and all those things. You already covered and you already familiar. So that's why. So we are directly going to this constructor overloading. So here we are creating many constructors with same name, but the definition is different. Definition is different for all these constructors. And here this first definition contains the box with three parameters, and here the definition of this constructor no parameters, and this is the constructor with one parameter. So there these constructors are different, and the compiler easily identifies with the property and feature called overloading. And one method inside this box class is volume, and it calculates the volume and it returns when we invoke volume method of the class. Understood? Coming to the next one, nested classes. Nested classes. It is possible to define a class within another class. So this is the concept called nested, right? Coming to the scope of nested class is bounded by the scope of its enclosing class. Scope of the nested class is bounded by the scope of its enclosed class. That enclosed class is nothing but an outer class, and nested class nothing but an inner class. That inner class, nested class means inner class is bound by the scope of outer class. And example, if class B is defined within a class A, if class B is defined within class A, that it means class A is the outer class and class B is the inner class. And B does not exist independently of A because and B scope is bounded by the scope of class A and B does not exist independently of A. It depends on the scope of the class A. Next one. A nested class has access to the members including private members of the class in which it is nested. So that it means whenever we have members or private members even of this B class can be, A class can be accessed inside this B class. However, the enclosing class does not have access to the members of the nested class and the reverse is not possible. And whatever the members defined, for example, A and B, consider the same. The members of A, even private, can be accessed inside B class scope or can be accessed by class B. And but class B members cannot be accessed by the class A members or scope of the class A, like this. Next one, a nested class that is declared directly within its enclosing class scope is a member of its enclosing class. So that is the case. Nested class is nothing but an inner class. When we define this inner class of as a member of outer class, then it completely becomes a member and it should have to follow the properties. It is also possible to declare a nested class as that is local to a block. As we can define a class within separate block of a class. And coming to here, there are two types of nested classes, static class, non-static class. Static class and non-static class. And a static nested class is one that has static modifier applied. Because it is static, we must define this nested class as a static and using static modifier, static keyword. It must access non-static members of its enclosed class through an object. That it means once you understand the previous example, that is class A as an outer class and has its scope like this, and inside of this scope we have a B class and B class scope is like this. And when we define this inner class as a static and as a static class, it can only access the static variables. But whatever the non-static members defined enclosing class here, that can be accessed, must be accessed the non-matrix to this by class B. It cannot refer to non-static members of its enclosing class directly because this restriction, static nested class are seldomly used. Seldomly means rarely used. We almost all we create classes nested or inner, and this static is for understanding, for knowledge point of view. We are giving this information to you. In 99% of time, we didn't create any static nested classes. And coming to the most important type of nested class is inner class. An inner class is a non-static nested class. That is what I'm saying here, that nested class should be a non-static always. Static nested classes are seldomly used. Next one, it has access to all the variables and methods of its outer class. Yes, as I told you the same, B class can allow to access all the members of this outer class, right? Coming to the example of this nested class, so outer class, and inside this outer class, there is an inner class here, inner class and outer class. In outer class, we have a variable x and initialize with 100. Maybe static of I. And test is a method of this, and inner class object is created and display function is called. Display function is a member method of the inner class, and it displaying the variable of x. And here we created one object for this outer class and we call that test method. And this application, it simply display like this. Okay, here it is something trying to show that outer class method can be accessed by inner class method, and here inner class object can access the inner class method, but the same way that outer class method can access the outer class method, and we created one internal relation between this outer class method and inner class method, and that's not much important here. In the program, an inner class named inner is defined within the scope of the class outer as it is. Therefore, any code in class inner, any code class inner can directly access the variable of outer x. In the previous program, it is trying to explain and justifying the statements and okay. Then coming to here, final class. So final class nothing but we can create a class as a final class. There are two uses of a final class. The first one is definitely to prevent inheritance. By defining a class as a final, we can prevent inheritance. That is the first use. The second one is, the second other use of final with class is to be create an immutable class like predefined string class. It is mutable and it doesn't change. We cannot make a class immutable without making it as final. When we create a class as a final, and it cannot be inherited and it is mutable. All vapor classes like integer, float, etc. are final classes, and we cannot change the behavior of those classes. And we cannot extend them as it is. We cannot extend them. Like example here, so final is a keyword. When use this keyword before any class declaration like this, then this class becomes a final class. So methods of and phase. Here, when trying to inherit this class A for class B, it gives compile error. It doesn't extends. It doesn't extends the inheritance properties of class A because final class A is a final class and no class is allowed to inherit that final class. Final method, we can also define a method as a final, and that final method cannot be allowed to override. Cannot be allowed to override. Override concepts you will get there in packages concepts of polymorphism. When a method is declared with the final keyword, it is called final method, and it cannot be overridden. And like overloading type, right now you can only knowledge of overloading, not overriding. So simply we cannot create such a type of method with same name like that. So here in class I have a method called final method, method name is M1, and I'm trying to create another method in subclass of this class B, and it gives compiler error because it cannot be overwrite in any subclasses of the superclass, and this concept is called final method representation of a class. And coming to here, passing arguments by value and by reference. The first way is called call by value, and second way an argument can be passed is called by reference. And you know that call by value, formal values and actual values, when we are invoking methods, and we are invoking methods by passing some value, so that the concept is called call by value, and you are very familiar with these concepts in C++ like. And call by reference is by passing address of the variable or instance variable we are invoking methods, or we are invoking methods by passing a reference of a particular variable or a memory location. That is the concept of call by reference. And you can see some example program like this. Here it requesting call by value and call by, and you are already know about these two topics clearly. Coming to this keyword, so this is important. All of you please concentrate attention. Sometimes a method will not to refer to the object that invoked it. So this keyword is already familiar to you in the C++ language, but here we learned some more here. Sometimes a method of a class will need to refer to the object that invoked it. So generally we invoke methods of a class by using object and dot operator. But here this Java defines this keyword. It can be used inside any method to refer to the current object, of that method invoked by, right? That is, this is always a reference to the object on which the method was invoked. So when generally for a class you can create many number of objects, and these many number of objects can allow to access member methods of a class, and this keyword helps you to give the reference of the object, that the current object that the method was invoked by, right? This is the usage of this keyword, the first usage. To better understand what this refers to, consider the following here. So here I have a constructor, and a constructor with these values, and we are initializing these values for the instance values of the box class. You already knowledge of this one, and here it is used this dot width, that it means when the object is invoked this constructor when it creating, and this point to the current object, when the current object is created, that object values are initialized by this w, h and d. Next one, as you know that it is illegal in Java to declare two logical variables with same name inside the same or enclosing scopes. In a same scope of a block, it is illegal to declare two local variables. So here, interestingly, you can have local variables including formal parameters to methods. Sometimes formal parameters are used in at the time of function definition, and which are overlap with the names of the class instance variables. So in this situation also, this keyword helps you to refer the current uh, local variables or current object variables. And however, a local variable has the same name as the instance variable of the class. The local variable hides the instance variable. This is the problem here. The local variable hides the instance variable. There, to overcome this one, this keyword helps you to differentiate those local variables and instance variable with same name. with same name. While it is usually easier to simply use different names, and generally when we use different names and quite not be a problem for us this type of case, and but there is a possibility of using overcome this situation with the same names and this keyword. This keyword can use it to resolve any namespace collisions. So this namespace collision is overcome by this keyword, and it occurs instead instance variables and the local variables. We'll see one example for this. So see here, class student, I have a roll number here and student name and student fee. And this constructor expecting three values, three parameters, and these are called formal parameters. These are called formal parameters or a local variables for this constructor. For this constructor, local variables, roll number, and name and fee. So these are the three variables having same name like this instance variables. So this is a problem here. These local variables, so what the point? These local variable hides, the instance variables like this. So to differentiate these two, we can use this dot roll number instance variable, and here this keyword completely avoid this name collision with local variables. So it simply display the function when we call this one. Understood? Inside another main function, main class, and we are creating object of student1, student2 by passing these values differently. So here, and it displays simply the student information. Okay. By calling this display function through objects S1 and S2. Next one. This keyword can be used to invoke current class method. This is also another usage of this keyword. And you may invoke the method of the current class by using this keyword, as it is also right. If you do not use this keyword, compiler automatically adds this keyword while invoking methods. So generally see here, I have this method, m method and n method, and hello n, hello m, here it is, and this dot m. I'm just using this keyword to invoke this m method. Inside main class, I have just created an object of this a class, and just I called only n method, not m method. But when you observe the output, here both hello n, the first method hello n is called. Why? Because I called this n method through the object of the class, but this keyword invokes this hello method also through the current object, right? These are the references, and we collected source of content of this video, test books, reference books, and e-resources. Thank you.